Okay, guys. So ask your questions. Happy to answer. Go ahead, Simran.
Hey Prasad, firstly, I really enjoyed these 3 days. It was really informative and I loved it. I just have a question on what you just spoke before the call ended about various methodologies to evaluate apart from heuristics. So could you probably talk about a few if you don't mind?
Okay. So I can definitely talk about that, but it's um, actually there's a very beautiful article that I saw on Medium where they talked about like 25 different methods. So is it okay if I find it and share it with you?
Yeah.
Okay. These guys did like a way better job than even I can do. So I'll share it and we'll put it on the WhatsApp group as well as the YouTube thing. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. So Krati, you have to turn on your camera. I don't take questions from people who don't turn on cameras. Okay, go ahead. So you are on mute, I guess.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first question is, if I did my day one task today, so will I be considered considerable into the certificate plus the portfolio evolution?
So you have to do all three, right? You have to do day one, day two, as well as put on LinkedIn.
But I completed the day one later on.
Okay. So should you get a certificate?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
No, I'm asking you. So should you get a certificate? Because design is always about discipline, right? So it's a
I skipped. Yeah, that's my mistake. Okay, yeah. I'm okay with whatever is the protocol. Another question is regarding the interview again. So I had this interview going on with the company, and I just today evening I got rejected for the same company. I had interview. I asked the earlier question regarding I and V thing. So one thing I had on my mind that was the reason I got rejected. Another
what is
thing
I and V?
Like we spoke in the earlier half an hour session that I was addressing my project as we. So I thought that they rejected me because I was talking about we as I was explaining, giving presentation of my portfolio as we.
Right.
So one that is done. Another thing is like yesterday's presentation.
One other thing, Krati, for that question, right? I and we may not. What would happen is what you can say is this, you can say what was the team composition? How many people were there? Okay. So upfront only you can say, Dekho, there were so many people in the team. These were the responsibilities and this was what I was looking after.
Yes, I did explain them. I don't know, but I did explain the whole process and the whole approach. But anyways, another thing I wanted to ask that yesterday in presentation, you told us the list of do's and don'ts. So in don'ts, you told one thing that don't be rigid about the process towards in your portfolio. So the interviewer himself was rigid about one thing that I don't want to got into the depth because it was an academic project. It was not being executed. But since he was being very much going into the depth of the thing, so at the end of our whole conversation, although the conversation went good, overall interview, but the end of the concluding it up, I asked him back about the same question that he was asking me. So although he nearly answered my question, but at the end of the interview, he was a bit off with me. So I shouldn't have asked him back or what?
Some people don't like to be challenged.
Okay, so we should not do that in interviews.
But my argument is, Dekho, I mean, if you want to get into a type 3 company, we love being challenged, right? We love it when somebody basically, I mean, I love it when, how people were asking, you said this, but now what about this, right? I love it because when you challenge me, it tells me that you're thinking about what I'm telling you. Okay. So that is a, type 3 mindset, right? So the thing that you have to think about is this. Eventually, you want to go into a type 3 company, correct?
Yeah.
Right? So if you get into a company where you're not trained to challenge your boss or not trained to think outside the box and all that, and you lose that skill, because I mean, anybody given enough criticism will lose that skill. Right?
Yeah.
Then after that, you've lost the skill. So how can you now apply for type 3? Because you cannot demonstrate it, isn't it?
Okay.
So that is something that you have to be aware of. So it's, of course, it is your first job. I would never tell you to not take your first job, right? Take it. But you should always maintain your curiosity, and you should always have a group of friends with whom you can have those kinds of discussions. Right? And you should always keep that mindset alive. Even if your current boss is not supporting it, you should keep that alive.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, that is the truth. This person maybe did not like you questioning them. Okay.
Okay. No, it's just my assumption. Maybe I would have been wrong at some other points. Maybe that was my assumption that I was being rejected on these terms. Maybe.
Yeah,
That was
maybe.
my
And I
assumption.
think there's no harm in basically reaching out to the individual and say, listen, and this is something that I encourage everybody that is interviewing, is right after it is done, you send a thank you note and say, thank you very much. I know I'm rejected. I really appreciate your time and your energy, right? Is there any advice you can give me so I can become better?
Yeah, I did that on LinkedIn. I texted him the whole that what were my wrong areas I was lacking behind.
That's awesome.
But
You
he
did
got
your
it.
part, right? And it's not, आता है नहीं आता है वो आपके हाथ में नहीं है. आपने अपना question पूछ लिया. That's good enough. Good job.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Cool. Go ahead, Achyut.
Yes, sir. So my question is from yesterday's and also today's session. Like it was also covered in the initial stage of the question. So one thing that you have mentioned was you can upgrade somebody's skill set, but you cannot teach them the thought process. I was a little afraid when you said that, because when the scope of thought matrix was there, I mean the graph was there, I yesterday sat down and evaluated, and also from one of my friend, I've taken a feedback and a critique, and I understood that during doing a heuristic evaluation, I'm more based on the my thought process was more based on UI and screens.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know, how do I progress from screens to user experience gradually? What are the ways and what should I do? And another thing is, considering how India is with regards to UX design, how the companies are in terms of maturity in understanding UX design, and from what I've personally received from these 3 days, how can I contribute to take this knowledge further? I wanted to know, so that, it was really helpful for me. I thought this is the content where it has to be. So what can I do to contribute from mine?
We have a very simple skill test, right? Your last was set 5 thana, which is self-awareness and competence, right? That is what it is. If you have self-awareness and competence, you can increase your scope, no problem, right? So because you are aware and you know that this is where I want to go and I'm here, you are aware, right?
Yes.
And you're not rigid, right? So the interesting thing is, the more competent you become, the more you realize there is to learn outside.
Of course.
So it is that humility, right? So it is, you have that humility. So essentially, if you have that self-awareness and that competence mindset, okay, you are humble enough to say, okay, I'm going to learn more. Okay. Whereas there are a lot of people that I've seen where, there will be people who will come to me and complain, why am I not getting promoted this year? They will get angry, upset with you that they're not getting promoted, right? And the reason they are not getting promoted is they are doing their job really well, right? But they are not doing the next level job, right? They are not showing me that they can go to the next level, right? So for example, this is what it is. The biggest fallacy, if you look at some of the largest companies, like all the big companies, right? They have this understanding. A good individual contributor does not make a good manager, right? Or maybe let me rephrase it. A good individual contributor is not necessarily a good manager, right? So what that basically means is, when you're an individual contributor, You are trained to do all the stuff by yourself, but you're doing it really well, right? Now, when you're a manager, what is your job? Right?
Be able to
If I
manage.
micromanage all my people to do A, B, C, and D, I say, these skills have got me promoted, so I'm going to make you only those skills, do only those skills. What happens? You're killing your team, because unless the team is a duplicate, a Xerox copy of you, the team is not good, right? Whereas a good manager is basically saying, okay, you might know things that I don't know. So let me encourage you on that. I will also learn, you'll also learn, right? So that's a manager. You're managing people is very different from knowing your skill, correct? Now, the same thing, a good manager may not necessarily be a good strategist.
Right.
Right? Because if you're managing people versus managing business, it's a completely different skill set.
Right.
So it is very important for people to realize that, okay, I'm good at my level, but if I want to get good at the next level, I have to let go of everything I've learned and learn new tricks.
Right.
And that is the biggest challenge for people, because they cannot let go of it. They don't grow in their career.
Right. Right.
So at the end of the day, it just basically boils down to just maybe 3 alphabets: ego. Right? If your ego gets too big, it stops you from learning. Once you stop learning, you're not growing in your career. That's it.
Yes, sir. So, and another thing, sir, I actually did not get any link yesterday. Was I supposed to get any form or survey yesterday? Because in the initial video, there was some submission. I did not get any email.
You did not get any email.
I mean, was there any email sent yesterday also? Because day before yesterday, I got.
Yeah, so you should have received an email. If you finished the second assessment, which is the assessment of scope of thought. Did you finish the scope of thought assessment?
Yes, scope of thought assessment was done.
Then you should have received an email. Check your spam or...
I've checked the spam also, but I haven't received any email as such.
So then just send your email address to Rajiv, and then Rajiv can look it up.
Can I, okay, here itself, right? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Go ahead, Ankur. You're on mute.
Hi.
Hey, Ankur.
Hi, sir. First
Hey.
of all, thanks a lot that you are doing everything for us for free gradually. And my question is little bit,
Could you just introduce yourself very quickly? So I'd love to know, because I know Simran and I know Achyut has also introduced himself, but
sure.
this is the first time we're talking. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. But I've been I'm one of your oldest audience in this channel.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. All right. So I based in Ahmedabad, working as a UX designer, but like lot of other designer, I'm like a master of one, and doing a lot of things together. In my organization, I'm doing graphics as well as video editing, video shoot. Along with that, I'm developing application as well for them. So basically, I have done diploma in animation, and then after I am self-taught UX designer. But the things that you have, explained in last 2 days is really, I didn't find anywhere in last 2 years of my journey that I could conclude with. And in my experience, what are the, there are tools and tutorials there to learn, but how should we prepare our brain to observe all that knowledge? Like how we can improve our learning curves to observe all this knowledge? Like any tip for the same in your experience?
So how many years of experience did you say you have?
I have over 8 years of experience, and since last 8 months, I have switched into UI UX.
Got it. See, I think the simple thing is practice and know that you will be wrong 100% of the time when you do your work, at least for the first 5, 6, 7 times. Okay. The next thing is find a good mentor, right? Who will basically hold you accountable, right? And then you basically keep doing work, keep getting critiques, keep getting feedback and all that stuff. And eventually you will get to the other side.
Right.
Right. And the easiest way for you to transition is because you are an animation guy. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of people realize this, but AR and VR is the next generation of design, right? So visual designers, graphic designers are not the guys who are going to do that. It's animation guys that are going to be doing that, right? So you already have a critical advantage for the next evolution, right? But what you need to do now is, 3-4 mahina, you just have to stay focused and build up your knowledge and build up your critique and build up your professionalism. Because again, this is where I would say, right? So if you say I've got 8 years of experience, now I go to UI UX. Okay. Now you might have financial obligations, you will have family obligations, all kinds of stuff, right? So now when you start over, you can't take a pay cut to do it. Right. So what you need to do is you need to basically create a bridge to the new ecosystem. So the way you do it is while you're in your same job. Okay. This is where, this is the intensive, unfortunately, is one of the best programs for you, right? Which this year, 2023 is already full. It's only open in 2024, but you can probably join the Portfolio Builder series and that might actually get you going. So usme, what you really need to do is this, right? Take a certain skill, practice it, put it into your work environment, right? Practice those skills in your work environment.
All right.
Okay. The more you practice it, you learn the professionalism and the mindset and you're good to go. Okay. In fact, one of the skills that I teach everybody is something called minutes of meetings. Okay. So whenever a meeting is done, you write a minutes of meeting and you send it to everybody in your team, right? What happens is within a month or 2 months, right? The team starts looking to you and says, okay, Ankur, tell me what we should do. What did we decide? They will look to you for advice, right? So this is what I mean is this, that's the whole mindset is like, this is what is, you need to learn these skills and apply it at your work so that you are basically doing a really good job. You are doing UX in a UI job. And so dhire dhire, once you do more and more UX, now you can easily transition and you can always say, I've got 2 years of experience. That's fine. The new company will take you, no problems. And you won't even have a pay cut.
All right.
Okay. In fact, I would be surprised if you don't get a hike in salary because if you're already applying everything, you know how it is. Either automatically आपको hike मिलेगा and आपको कोई negative नहीं है.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, experience was quite identical what you have just said. Thanks a lot.
Right. And again, this is where you can talk to people. We have 2 of our members here. Bhaskar is there, Mohan is there. So, hey, if you can just raise your hands, they've got their cameras on. You can talk to them. They were exactly in a similar kind of situation, right? So that's what I would say. This is the other thing that I would say is become a member of the college ecosystem because then you get access to everybody. You can talk, you have conversation, you're supported on that.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And
Awesome.
Ankur, I am also a motion graphics artist related to animation. So if you want to know the more information further, you can connect with me.
Sure. We'll connect soon. Yeah. Thanks, Mohan. Yeah. Thanks, sir, again. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Cool. Go ahead then. Yeah.
Hi,
Yes.
my name is Denzel. This is my first time here. So I've been subscribed for a while, but now just this email came up and I am looking for new opportunities and all those things. I said, okay, let me see what it is. So first 3 days, it's totally unique approach. So I think you package all. I think there were very few people who kind of guide UX designers into this kind of thing. So it was very insightful, even though I am 12 plus years of experience. And plus, I didn't get the questions, the scope of thought questionnaire. I missed that.
So it was given, it was shared on the WhatsApp group as well as it was shared in the.
And then WhatsApp group.
So you probably would have missed it because pretty much everybody else accessed it WhatsApp and Discord. Those are the 2 places where it was there.
Yeah, I had a link. Then I was trying to do it, and something came up, and then I had to drop off.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, so I saw something popping up, and then I missed it. And then today I'm seeing that okay, everybody's answered. So basically, I also want to figure things out. So what happened is, I've been I've been heading a team of design, a year back. So I worked in a firm for 5 years. So after this session only, I came to know there are type 2, type 3, and all the sort of companies. Because I wanted to work. I've been to UK to study, and then there was something happened, and came back. A lot of things. So had a very different approach. But then somehow, life and everything takes different directions, and then so I somehow managed whatever I have. So I joined as an art director, then moved as a senior UX UI designer. Then I had a team of people. Then Corona time was amazing. We did a lot of things in terms of transitioning people, recruiting people, working remote was the biggest challenge.
Right.
Had I knew what kind of questions you asked today, I would have got a better team. So that was very insightful. But just still managed. But I had a very interesting team wherein I picked up people from various art backgrounds, like what you said, to head different stuff, you know. Plus, my firm did not have UX to UI group and all. So we were just anybody who to do anything. So I kind of took control and gave basis the skill of the person kind of identified, and there was a set of UX team and there was a UI team. So then you were talking about, oh, we should not have the segmentation. It should be there's no UI guy. I was a bit confused, like why you were saying there was no UI, related thing. Especially I used to give them UI job wherein the UX guy focused on thinking. And so basically it was more like a production job once you kind of thing. So I did more of a web related project rather than the app thing. Not much of a product. But yeah, so that kind of thing. So now what happened is like, so I took a break. I'm doing freelancing. So now I want to get back into the game. So what happens is since I was heading the team and all those things, so most of the work is it's a teamwork. Okay, I'm not sure where the portfolio comes from. So not many people, show portfolio in this level. I'm not sure. Do we even want to show a portfolio? Okay, so how do I go about it?
So I think there is still a portfolio. For leaders, there is still a portfolio.
Okay.
In fact, one of the best portfolio presentations I saw was from this guy who was a senior director at Boston Consulting. Okay. And he then was looking for senior leadership roles in other companies.
Okay.
His work was phenomenal. It's just his portfolio was like mind-blowing, right? Because again, when you're looking at a senior level, what are the things that people are judging you on? Right?
It's more like how I help the team, what are the
not really,
how I made the goals.
So I am judging you on everything.
Okay.
Right? So I'm judging you as an individual contributor because I want to make sure that you know your job. Right? Then I'm judging you as a leader of the team, right? Which is how are you giving feedback? What systems and processes have you set up, right? How are you promoting people, kicking out people? What is your system? What is your framework? So I would love to understand your frameworks, right? Then when I'm looking at you as a director level person, right? I want to understand what strategies you've implemented. How are you connecting your strategy to the business goals, right? How are you governing those goals?
Okay.
Right. So that is where I'm looking at the next level. So all of these have to be communicated, right? However, you may not want to put it online because when you are a senior level person, not everything can be put online, right?
Yes, that's
but
what I was
what
like.
you will
Nothing is
probably
online.
do is you will put all of this as a presentation and you will present it.
Okay, yeah, that's yeah.
Okay. And you'll say, listen, here's an example of how I lead my team. So this is my structure. This is my framework. This is what I look. This is how I hire.
Yeah.
This is how I fire. This is how I promote, right? This is how I achieve my business goals. And then you kind of talk through all of that. So now people are able to evaluate you at multiple levels. And that makes it really well. So, and it also tells me that you are diligent enough to think about what I'm trying to understand from you and you're telling me that.
Okay.
So if somebody is going at a senior level, they don't really have a presentation, right? They will it's practically next to impossible to kind of get into a type 3 company.
Yeah, because for me, it was not making sense to kind of put up all the work and show about it because this is not something they are going to look at. It's about how do we conduct, I cannot show, like I've seen many people's portfolio, they just put up this screenshot and make a nice layout, but it was not making, a valid approach for me.
Yeah, and again, your portfolio has to match the seniority of job that you're looking for.
Yeah. So, so then I was trying to look for, okay, let me go for, senior UX or maybe lead UX. So I don't know. Then
so at lead UX, you have to do your portfolio, but when you're going at manager and senior manager roles, you have to play it a little bit delicately. Okay.
Yeah, so
because
it's a bit tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky. It's definitely tricky. But what I would say is here's my, my body of work, and your resume becomes more important. More than your portfolio, resume becomes more important when you're going into senior roles. Okay. And the way you write your resume makes a difference in terms of how people, will select or not. So your resume should be completely outcome driven. Right? Like what are the outcomes that I've driven for my organization? And I think that is where people will look at you.
So basically what happened, I've transitioned towards it. So I have like, I was an individual contributor, then I was a team player, then was leading the team. So there's a whole story in the
Right.
last 5 years, and there's a lot. So even the work is a lot because I was working in a
Right.
service company. There's a huge domain. I've worked multiple domains. I've
Right.
worked
Right.
in.
Right.
So it becomes a little overwhelming when I look at it, and I do not know how do I place me. So also I was thinking about it is a good thing to transition to a product company at this point of time, and what level should I be getting into?
See,
It
my
also
preference always is going to companies where you are accountable to outcomes.
Hmm.
Right. Don't go into companies where you are accountable to number of screens, number of pages. And generally, I see, like, with the exception of UX Reactor, because UX Reactor is different because both Satyam and I are purely product guys who have created a
Yes.
service company, right? So we actually do product. So when we go into a company, we take over the design function in that company. Otherwise, we don't even work with them, right? So, but most service companies that I've realized are not like that, because usme service mein ye, you throw the money and
Yes.
naach dekho, right? Paisa
Go
feko,
ahead.
naach dekho, right? So that's what it is. So there is no respect. So the service companies mein, product companies say, I have this idea, you deliver it. You give me 40 screens. Even if the designer knows it is wrong, they will do those 40 screens.
Yeah.
They will give it.
Yeah.
Then the company will say, okay, these 40 screens are there, but we made a mistake. Now do 20 more. Okay, I'll charge more hours. I'm going to do 20 more. So that never teaches you the strategic thought process when you're working in those kinds of companies, right?
So
Product companies, because you're held account, product companies has more money, more scope, and more experimentation, and more, in terms of the knowledge you get is much more, right?
yeah.
So, but when you want to get into product companies, you have to, it's a higher bar that you have to meet. Right. So that is also way, and again, I'm not saying one or the other is bad, but that's the other aspect that you think about, right? So if you want to go into a service company, you don't have any knowledge, right? Service companies will be more willing to teach you and grow you, right? The salaries will be lower, but but that's where I say for you have to commit to at least 2 or 3 years to that company, right? Otherwise the company will not make a profit. So if you give those, you say, I'm willing to put 3 years, I'm going to get my break and I'm going to learn, and you go learn their service company is a great place to start your job. Right? Product companies mein ye hota hai ki either you have pedigree or you know what you're doing, you kind of get into it. Right? So the pedigree opens the door for you. So that is where product companies, that's how they go for it. Right? So product companies will not waste time teaching you and training you, right? They'll say, okay, ho raha hai to ho raha hai, nahi ho raha to nikal do, hire somebody else. So it's a very different mindset.
So that's what I was thinking. So my dilemma was, where should I go in service route, because now I've done into multiple route. Now I want to focus in a product company. So where is the entry in the product?
Again, with me, it's interesting. Very rarely will you find a perfect answer with me, because again, I don't know you, right? What I'm really afraid of is I give you the wrong advice and you make a wrong choice.
No, I mean, not that level to kind of, just say what is it. It's just I'll evaluate.
So my preference always is product companies, because I've had the most amount of phenomenal growth in I've loved product companies, right? Service companies, I struggle with, right? I struggle with service. Even setting up UX Reactor, I struggled with it until we made the rule that we are taking over your design function. Otherwise, we are not working with you, right? Until then, I always struggled with service companies. So that's what my thing is. So, go for a place where you are accountable for outcomes, your growth will be great, and the amount of fun you'll have.
I actually love that. And what happened in certain certain project, I have done that approach wherein I have taken ins and out of it. So, but what happened is not every client is the same, right? So they don't give you that opportunity to kind of, take everything out from us. So, so I had the opportunity to work with ICICI Prudential, a mutual fund website. So we did that entire thing. Amazing challenges, a lot of insights into the team. So I kind of like that approach. But then I would like, okay, been there, done that. So I want to do something next. So the product is more, but then with the kind of, how do I place is the bigger question. So everybody say, okay, you are a senior UI UX designer, and then I don't want to be, designing, but I want to lead team and kind of, see how.
I mean, make your portfolio accordingly, plan your communication accordingly, build your networks, and basically go nail them. That's the game you need to play. Right. Cool. Awesome.
Alright, thank
Shrikar,
you.
no camera. आखिरी minute में camera on किया तो कैसे? I'm going to have a complaint with you, man. Go ahead, Shrikar.
Yeah. Good evening, Prasad. So I have a question. So considering the current job scenario in India, specifically to UX design, like I have a question. So I mean, UX design is still in its early stages in India, right? So my question is, I mean, if you look at the current market, it's unable to understand what exactly UX design is, right? So I just want to give a context or share a story where one of my relatives named Aditya, who is a talent acquisition lead in a company. So he was trying to, recruit a UX designer or UX talent, right? So I have identified their need as a recruiter. So they were actually, about to start a project on food wastage. So they were trying to recruit a UX talent. So I mean, on a higher level, if you look at the different personas involved in a UX, I mean, as a recruiter, we have talent acquisition lead, we have a human resource manager, and we have hiring manager and a design team. So at the end of the day, a design team or a design lead should be making a decision, right? So as to acquire a design talent. So I mean, the problem he shared with me as a talent acquisition lead was that he was unable to identify the standard or the right UX recruitment process, right? So on a higher level, my question is this: are recruiters in India able to differentiate between the recruitment process and the hiring process? So because the difference between the hiring process and the recruiting process is that hiring process is that where they want to fill a job vacancy immediately, but the recruitment process that they want to find the right talent that needs to be fulfilled, right? So he was I said that, okay, we have a community like college where you can find the appropriate resources, not only for the designers but also for the recruiters. But yeah, so I mean, yeah.
See, that's always a challenge between recruiters and hiring managers, right? So because recruiters want to fill a headcount, hiring managers want to find the best person.
Right.
Okay. So that is where, in any team that you will see, if you have a good hiring manager, they will challenge the recruiter to hire better. They will actually do training programs for the recruiter on how to hire, right? They will actually, once they reject somebody, they will sit down with the recruiter and say, I rejected this person for this reason, this reason, this reason. Okay. So the recruiter is learning from that process.
Right.
Okay. So, but again, even within recruiter, even the hiring manager can make their whole recruitment process a lot easier, because they can say, look for this, they can give guidelines on what they're looking for. Because a lot of times I also see hiring managers don't know how to write a clean JD. Right? So it's funny because I don't know if it's true or not, but in LinkedIn, this has been trending. Flipkart published a JD with Atlassian in it. Right? So, like it may be false, maybe it's a fake news, right? But the point is, those kinds of situations happen, right? Because the hiring manager will just go and copy and paste a JD from somewhere and put it there. They have not thought about it, what kind of person they want, and then they'll just put it out there, and then you'll find inconsistencies in the JD, and then it'll not look good. Right? So that's what it is. So I would just say that, yes, hiring and recruiting are two different roles, and both of them usually coordinate very, very tightly together to get a job hired, especially in the higher type 2 and the type 3 companies. In fact, in type 3 companies, they are willing to pay a premium to, recruit the correct kind of people. So, I mean, if you look at it, type 3 companies, if you look at Microsoft, Google and all that, like just go on YouTube, how much content they create just to attract the right kind of people. Right? Because they basically have an attraction strategy going on. Even this whole event that we're doing is an attraction strategy. Right? So that's what it is. So you invest in a lot more beyond just hiring.
Got it.
Cool.
So, yeah, if I may ask.
Okay.
So on a higher level, I mean, the recruitment process of UX design is not standardized in India, right? I mean, not only in India, but all over the globe. It's not standardized. So, I mean, how do we start with this? Or, I mean, who would be the first person to, standardize the recruitment process all over the globe?
See, in any type 3 company, the senior directors will be setting standards for their discipline in their organization. Okay, they will have very clear-cut roles. They'll say, okay, for an individual contributor, these are the skills. This is what they should know. This is what they should not know. To get promoted, this is so the whole progression chart is done by the directors in their appropriate disciplines. Okay, in type 3 companies, you'll have interaction, visual, research. So you'll have 3 different directors. In higher type 2 companies, you might have one director who's managing all 3. So, but still, they still have to do these progression charts. Okay. Now, what they do is, once these progression charts are done, these progression charts are now connected to the hiring criteria and to the hiring task. Everything is connected. Okay, so that is how these companies will basically run it. And so that's exactly what we do when we do the free resources for companies. In fact, this is what I say. For us, for our members to get hired, there are enough type 3 companies to get hired in. Right? So we don't even have to waste. And this is a very interesting mindset. So when we created UX Reactor, we made a very conscious decision, because if I can do a lot of business in India, but I have to educate people on what is UX. Right? Or I can do a lot of business in US and Europe, and I don't have to educate because they know what they want. Right? So what did we do? We said, okay, forget the Indian market. We completely left the Indian market, and we said we are only going to focus on the US market. And of course, we are a US headquartered company, so that's a different, motivation altogether. But we would every once in a while get offers from Indian companies and say, no, we don't want to work in India, because I don't want to waste 10 hours of my time teaching you what UX is, then teaching you why I'm important, then teaching you all these things, and then do the project for you. It's a waste of my time, unless you're paying like $200 an hour to teach you. Right. So my question is, like, why even worry about that business that doesn't know, right? I mean, how many people do you have to teach? And by the time you teach those people, then they leave and go to a new job. And then again, you're back to zero with this company.
Right. So, but I mean, isn't there a scope of opportunity where we'll not only be educating job seekers about the right recruitment process, but also the recruiters? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do a lot of events for companies as well. Okay. Right. We do events for companies where companies come in and they learn and all that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, your brother has joined one of the companies that we've educated and trained. Right. Right. True. So their CEO is like, we trained them and kind of onboarded them and all that. So that's how it works. Right. Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Go ahead, Sanjay.
Yes. Hi, sir. So, what's my question was, yesterday I asked about the web accessibility.
About web accessibility.
Yeah.
Right. So the question was, how do we learn web accessibility? Is that right?
Yes. And how to apply that thing.
Right.
Because
so web accessibility, you will have, if you go to a website called usability.gov.
Yeah.
Okay. So usability.gov, it's a US government website, because the US government and both the US government as well as the European Union have accessibility guidelines, and they have laws that you have to meet if you want to do, if you want to work with the government, right? Yeah. Or if you want government money. So there is that. And there's also that accessibility.gov, I think, is another one, which is a website. So they will give you a lot of content, and there are accessibility tools. So after you do the website, you basically run it into those tools, and then you will get feedback on that. Okay. So there are what you call, I think it's 508 laws or whatever. It's 508 guidelines or something like that it's called. I can probably put it in later at some point. I can search for it. But yeah, so there are resources out there that you can just literally go there, and there are tools that will validate your design, and then you can get going on that.
Okay. Okay. And another question was, I just started.
And so then is also kind of put in there the WCAG guidelines. So these are guidelines, and these are also really good resources. So there are legal requirements that you have to meet, and there are guidelines that, if you meet, they're good. So the WCAG guidelines are like, literally the gold standard for, in terms of guidelines of these are all the things you need to think about. And then you go into those other websites, they'll kind of talk to you about the legal elements.
Okay. So I have another
question. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead, Sanjay.
Yeah. So yesterday I want to talk about the zone stagnation.
Mhm.
So from past 1 month, I had a warning notice in my company.
Mhm.
So it's been just 1 year. I just started in a fresher.
Mhm.
So when I joined as an intern, after 6 months, I completed my internship, and they only given the opportunity to work with them.
Mhm.
So now, when the just recently some few things happened in the thing. So they are saying they need to be improve the things like kind of sentence cases. So is there any best practices for the when need to be used the sentence cases and when should not use the title cases? Those things.
See, I think there are probably two things that are there.
Okay.
Okay. So there are guidelines, of course, when do you use different sentence cases and all that. There are guidelines that you can basically just search for it and you can probably get it.
Okay.
However, right, there are two reasons why companies will basically give you that kind of feedback, right?
Okay. Okay.
One is attention to detail.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Right.
If the individual doesn't have the attention to detail, let's say you use one sentence case somewhere, another sentence case somewhere else, right? It's attention to detail, because when you're coding, when your engineer is coding, they're writing CSS that says sentence case, this camel case, or sentence case, something else, right? So
Yes.
they're writing the code that way so that one line of code can automatically take care of everything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're inconsistent, the engineers have to write more code.
Right.
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 Or even
Yes.
when some box is like 1 pixel left, one box is 1 pixel right, you're not consistent. So the engineering will basically complain, because in Indian organizations, engineering is very strong. Okay.
Okay.
So engineering will go back and complain to product or the business and say, yeah, this guy is wasting my time. There's nothing consistent. I have to go back and ask 10 times this question, and then that's how it gets done. Right.
Okay.
Or, the engineering gets caught. Why did you not do this? The engineering will promptly blame design.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So attention to detail and consistency are absolutely critical skills for a designer. And that only comes through practice. You have to practice it, and you have to have that mindset, zero error mindset.
Yep.
Right. And
Yes.
it basically is like, one of the exercises that we do in our training is something, what we do is we give negative marks. We say you automatically have 100 marks, and
Yes.
we will do negative marks for every mistake that you do. Right.
Right.
And
Right.
it's -1, -1, -1, and the highest marks is a -5,000 we have given, up to that much.
Okay.
Right. But once you understand all the mistakes, then you narrow it down. You don't make mistakes. You're technically very strong.
Okay.
Right. Now, the second use case might be that they are potentially looking at you as a content guy as well. You are supposed to develop the content as well. Right.
Okay.
In which case, then, if your content is not your strength, then that's not your strength. You can't, developing content is not, it's a separate specialization in itself.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Right? And you need to have that conversation with your managers, like, guys, this is what, and if your boss says, no, I want a content plus designer and everything else all in one, then good luck, right? I just say start looking for a new job. Don't worry about this, because you're not missing much here. Right? Because no matter who they hire, they'll have to deal with the same issue. Because it's very hard to find a one-man army. Think about it, right?
Yes.
So it's an unrealistic expectation from the job.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Cool?
Yeah. And I have another one last question.
Okay.
When would need to be the information architecture has been applied? Is it in static sites or in dynamic thing?
See, again, by information architecture, I assume you're talking about that tree structure, right? Which page connects to what?
Right.
In static.
Okay. Thanks.
Right. You never do it in dynamic. If you're doing dynamic projects, you do that, somebody's going to give you dirty looks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you a lot. I learned a lot in 2 days.
Awesome. Thank you, Sanjay. I'm glad you found value. Go ahead, Abdul.
Hi, sir. Thank you for giving me opportunity to ask questions. Actually, my name is Salman, sir. I'm a UX designer working in a product-based company based in Delhi. So I have experience around 5 years in UX, you can say. So, sir, my question is, actually, my background is accounting. So I came into design industry. So my question is, one is it really necessary to have a design degree to get selected in type 3 company?
The correct answer is no, but normally when type 3 companies will be recruiting, they will go to design colleges, right? They're the ones that give those insane packages and they will say, Dekho, I want to hire.
Right.
Right. And that is how they basically go about hiring. So if you look at the Microsoft, but then even if they go to an IIT Delhi or IIT Mumbai or whatever, right? They're not making blanket offers. Most of the time they will make maybe one offer or zero offers.
Yes, yes.
So they are very, very particular. They will not compromise. Even as far as UX Reactor is concerned, what we have done is we blacklisted all IITs and NIDs. We will not go and hire from there. Right? Because where we find the issue is self-reflection is a skill that is very, very much lacking in those programs. Because what happens if you're IIT, I rule the world. That is what you're trained from day one, right? Now, if you come to a company and say, bhai, you can't do this, you have to do it in another way. Those guys cannot compute that logic, right? They say, no, I'm IIT, how can I be wrong, right? So, I mean, I'm not complaining about IITs, but I'm complaining about that attitude, right? The attitude that you can never be wrong. If you're never wrong, then how will you reflect? How will you grow? How will you improve in your career? Right? And so that is the same philosophy with Microsoft and all that. When they go there, they will select for that. That is why they only select 1 or 0. Right? So they will be very, very careful in identifying that cultural elements and they will pick up those people. So coming back to your question, okay. Getting a degree definitely helps you open the door, right? And getting degree in the right colleges. Now there are like every university is opening programs, right? That's a waste of time, right? Getting into the right institutions will open doors for you. Okay. However, you are still responsible for learning your skills. Even within our community, we have a number of people from NID, we have a number of people from IIIT, we have people from IIT also. So technically, they do the courses there, they also learn from here. Right? So you are still responsible for learning your content. So degree is positive, it's definitely a plus. However, you should have this technical capability to execute.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. I have 2 more questions, sir. Can I ask?
Sure.
Okay. One quickly question I have in my mind. I have 4 years of UX experience and working in a company, in a same company. And my company is type 2 company, actually. They are giving a breathing space to explore things and all, doing researching part and all. So I'm pretty much happy in my current job and not actively looking for a change. Just want to know, sir, just want to know that company wants HR wants that salary, your current salary and your expected salary. So how will we answer that question?
See, I think a simple question is you decline to answer, right? Now, if you decline to answer, there's a 50-50 chance that the company will say, okay, ignore this person. Let's go to the next person, right? So there is a way, there is a strategy how you decline to answer. Okay. So what you need to do is, one, your portfolio needs to be technically strong. Okay. So that when the technical guy is looking at it, they will say, okay, because normally when they ask you for your salary, it's towards the end of the process when they're trying to hire you.
Right.
Okay. So you don't have to worry about it till the end. If you have proven your value, you've done an awesome interview, right? The way you want to say is you can always say, no, I don't want to share. It sounds very rude, right? A more humble approach is you want to say, listen, I really don't want to share my salary because, I want you to judge me. For me, money is not important, right? I just want you to judge my work, look at the market value and give me a fair amount. That's it. I just care about working with a good company and do amazing work. That's all I care about, right? And I'm not saying this as marketing. I'm not saying say that as a lie. You should really believe it. That is how you'll grow in your career, right? If you say, no, that guy is giving me 1 rupee more, I'm going to jump to that. Your career is always going to be running after that 1 rupee, right? Whereas if you focus on competence, money will come running after you. Does that answer your question, Abdul?
Yes, sir.
Good. Salman, so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you can call me Salman, sir, actually. One last question
Okay.
I have, sir. Only
Okay.
I don't take too much time. Sir, my question is mostly company gives, if actually I recently apply in a company, so they just directly give me an assignment. They are providing me the assignment and I did the assignment and they reject me actually. I think a couple of months ago, I did that assignment, and after 2 to 3 months back, they give me the feedback that you are not qualified for the final round. So I just want to know, they are not giving me the proper detailed feedback to get that. So how can we know the proper feedback, sir?
See, I think today is the world of cancel culture.
Actually,
Okay. So it's not that you are the victim, the company can also be a victim, right? Because all it takes is, listen, I give you honest feedback, right? I've had people I've interviewed that I've given feedback to, right? They will basically say, they will complain, Arey, you don't know anything about design, these are bullshit questions, long process, they don't care about people, blah, 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 put it on Glassdoor, right? Now, in any company, my survival is based on the quality of people I get. Even if one individual blows on Glassdoor and sees that this bad feedback is there and they are not applying to my company, I've lost the opportunity, right? I've also had some other people. These are the unique kind of people that I've met in India. I've never worked in India till I decided to set up the branch in India, right? To say, pehle, I've never worked in India. Another unique character came in, right? This individual, basically, his daughter did not get an offer, right? This guy goes on some feedback forum and says, this company is actually all run by Indians. It's an Indian company. They're faking. They're calling themselves an MNC, right? Main kya bolu, right? I mean, what kind of characters there are, right? So the problem that we face, especially from a company perspective, is I am afraid to give feedback to people because I don't know what you will take out of it, right? And so in the process, what happens is a lot of good people also do not get feedback, right? And that is where I think you need to kind of showcase your attitude and your mindset, right? You need to showcase that you're humble, you're nice, you're approachable, you're not the crazy kind of person that's going to come around and screw me, right? And then you want to basically send a thank you note and you want to be nice about the whole process. And then, aaj nahi to kal, you'll get your feedback. Right?
got it.
But it is always a danger for companies because we are always afraid that maybe we'll hit that one guy who's crazy and we basically have to go do damage control for that individual.
Agreed.
Okay, cool, awesome. Thank you, Salman. Go ahead, Pratik.
Well, sir, so my first question is already being covered by Salman, so thank you for the salary question. My other question is that regarding masters in the future, are the certified, like I'm being the certification course, so will be eligible for directly doing the masters in coming future or not?
So which certificate course?
This UX UI design certification course I have done online, bootcamp course. So after that, will I be eligible for the masters in coming years, or I have to do a bachelor's degree before?
Do you have a bachelor? It's a certification and
no, I
master
have a
of
bachelor's degree in architecture, not in this, but in architecture.
So you don't need a certificate course. You can directly go. Design is the one field. You can go from anywhere.
Actually, I already did. I have just completed in October.
Right. So certification ho na ho koi farak nahi padta. It has no influence on your master's program.
Okay. And lastly, thank you so much for being so humble to attend each and every question. And whatever I just missed, I was missing out in my 16 weeks course. These 3 days I've covered a lot out of it. So it was very helpful and valuable. Thank you so much.
Put it on LinkedIn, help spread the word.
Yeah, sure. That was so
Thank you, Pratik. Go ahead, Ayesha.
Yeah, hello, sir. Ayesha here. So I wanted to ask you about that. I had a background of software development. which I did currently pursuing. But I switched my career in the same company to UX UI designing. So I am doing the UX designing work from past 3 years. So while switching, I want to ask you that will that my whole experience will gonna count in while switching to other company? Or because
okay,
also
let
at the same time,
me ask you a separate different question. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it important that the experience should count?
Because again, up to the salary, first thing,
right?
package thing,
So salary is the point.
and yeah, salary, and second, that about also the mindset, because compared to the freshers, I do have from end to end knowledge that how from idea to deliver a product, right? And also I do have understand the mindset of a developer, that what design could be approach is possible in the real world compared to the dummy world. And I think that the advantage I have. So I think will those points be considered, or it just be neglected? Like
absolutely, it will be considered. But however, let me ask you a different question. Okay. Don't tell me your exact salaries, but is it in the less than 10 lakhs? Is it 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25? Give me a 5 lakh range. Make number. Where is your salary right now?
10 to 15.
You will, and you got how many years of experience?
Around 7.5.
Which is a total years of experience.
Yeah.
As a designer, how many years of experience do you have?
Around 3.
3. I don't think it should even be a worry, right?
Okay.
So good designers will automatically, I think anywhere from 3 years, say now, you can easily, with 3 to 4 years of experience, you can easily be, if you deliver and you're able to show the competence and the ability, you should easily be able to be in the 15 plus range. Koi problem nahi hai.
Okay.
Right. In fact, I've seen those ranges go all the way up to 30 lakhs without degrees.
Okay.
Right. So I think you are in a good spot. I don't think you should worry about whether the experience is counted or not. Focus on making sure you're technically perfect in your communication.
Okay. So,
good.
And also, I have one thing. In the very first day, you talked about that nowadays the UX designers are merging with the MBA degree. So I do have the plan or the roadmap to go into the management in further, because completing that. So do you advise to do the online MBA just to do, or just go work gradually?
So
Go to
I
the
would
UX
say,
lead and then that.
In our teams, we sponsored people the BITS Pilani program. Again, online programs are interesting because they're only as good as the student's motivation. If you don't attend the class, you don't listen to the videos, you don't do your homework, nobody's going to tell you. Whereas in an offline, you have to do everything. Right?
Yeah.
So BITS Pilani has a wonderful MBA program that we have sponsored for our own team members. Right? It's really good. Right? They offer an MBA program, and I've seen my team members, they've slogged it, right? So they make you work for that degree. So that's one thing.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Second thing is, if you want to go into management, now try to bridge your design experience with management, right? This is where the user experience book that I showed, right? Written by Satyam, right? That is really good, because that is actually the foundation. So Satyam is the guy who's done an MBA from Harvard, right? Then he and I set this design company together, and our philosophy is, how do you do management with design as the core? Right?
Okay.
So that book is the playbook, the foundational playbook for all of that. So the same curriculum, we've taught in a lot of other places as well. So I would say get that book, because it has also got a lot of techniques, like easily accessible techniques, design techniques that you can apply to do management.
Okay, great.
Right? And that is what I say, scope of thought, because eventually when your scope of thought increases, you will be doing management anyways. Right? You're not going to be doing design.
Yeah.
Good.
Understood. Thank you.
Thanks,
for answering my question.
Good. So this is going to be the last question, and then after this, we'll call it a day. So go ahead, Sanjay.
So I have another question. The last question is it mandatory to have a degree, sir?
No. You do not need a degree to be a designer. In fact, there is a whole push, even in the US, type 3 companies like Google and all that, they are no longer hiring for degrees. They are no longer hiring for degrees. And Google is interesting because that was the one company that in the beginning it used to say, you have to be from Stanford or Berkeley to get hired.
Okay.
Right? This is the same company that's saying, I don't want degrees anymore. I'm going to hire people without degree. So that is how much the industry itself has changed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So my advice for people who are looking for degrees is look for degrees that will help you grow your mind, right? Because degrees are valuable because they give you the breadth of thought. So if you can get into a program that will give you the breadth of thought, that will challenge you, you are challenged, you're working with engineering guys, you're working with management guys, and they're challenging your mindset and all that, that is a good program to go into, right? A degree that will just teach you how to do Photoshop and all that is like, it's a waste of paper. You don't even like throw that paper away.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so done. So Rashmi, aap last minute mein question dale, so I'll take this one question, uske baad khatam, pakka. So go ahead, Rashmi.
Thank you.
Camera on karna padega lekin.
My camera is not working, so I have taken a degree from HFI course last year, and after studying that, I scored. I couldn't earn the certificate. I lost it by only 4 marks. But the knowledge I gained, I could feel the difference before Rashmi and after pursuing the course. Along with while studying the UX, my question is will it be a good idea to have a knowledge of data scientist also, so that I can apply that knowledge from a UX perspective?
So kahan hai? Where is my favorite data scientist here? Krati hai kya idhar?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah, so she's a data scientist. So you want to share your thoughts? So
basically, like if you are a data scientist and if you love data, like you can do anything what you want to do. It's important to if you are like know where and what, when and where to implement, the game is in your pocket.
So maybe to put it in a little bit more succinct, a slightly different way, is this: data scientists understand data, right? So when you do design, especially when you're working with large companies like Google, Microsoft, where like hundreds of millions of users come and use your product, you want to be very familiar with data. So data scientists actually make really good quantitative researchers, right?
I see.
They also make good designers because you understand what data means what and how you should implement your designs, right? So, and again, like I say, I want to reiterate, right? Design is the only space where no matter what discipline you come in, you can actually enrich the program. You can enrich design. You can be a better designer because you know some other discipline. Like personally for me, I was a software guy, right? I did software. I went to the US to do a master's in computer science. And interestingly, like I was just applying for jobs and then, campus jobs at that time. And one of the professors looked at my resume and said, no, you're a user, you're a human factors person. In those days, there was no user experience. They said, you're a human factors person. I'm like, what is human factors? They said, do you have a specialization? Go check it out, right? And so I did human factors and I realized that is exactly what it is. So I was actually, working in unmanned drones and all that stuff. And eventually, I ended up working with Yahoo to do like their websites and all that. And I realized the skills are exactly the same. So I'm an engineer who brings an engineering mindset to design. You're a data scientist who brings a data science mindset to design, right? And data science, again, if you think about it, is the foundation for machine learning and AI. So if you understand data science, you are actually very well equipped to create machine learning and AI-based experiences. So again, to answer your question, it is always a positive, no matter what discipline. I used to have a guy who used to test games for EA games, right? That guy became a phenomenal designer because he could gamify anything, right? He was working on a software that was on computer security and he made it so easy. Like, it's a mindset. You bring your mindset into design and you enrich it. That's what it is.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Chalo then. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for spending the whole week with us or the weekend with us and being so conscious and, being so supportive. We would love, so we will send you a survey link. We would love for you to kind of come in, tell us, fill in the survey and tell us what you think. If you want something else, this survey tells us, how we can improve, what we can do to help you better. So please do that. The second one is, if you found value, please like and share the content on YouTube, LinkedIn, subscribe. That is also really important because it helps us get the word out. And the more people that are in the ecosystem, the better we get at it. So that is something that I would like all of you to help us with. So Simran, I can't take your question, buddy.
No, just reminding you for the link. That's the reason I raised my hand.
Okay, so
whenever you're free.
So kaun sa link chahiye?
That the evaluation apart from the
so I have to search for it. So I'll search for it and I'll send it. So it'll be on WhatsApp. Okay.
Just reminding you, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Simran. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.